Welcome to Seriously Uncork Yourself. I am your host, Lynn Kuhn, and this is a podcast that brings to you a firsthand look at what it seriously means to meet people where they are in their life. Enjoy the experience from illusions to reality. Find out what it is to restore to high performance, renew your freedoms, and rejuvenate playfulness. I can't wait to share with you my experience and the experiences of many others in hopes that you feel inspired to renew yourself and live your best life. Thanks for listening. Now let's get started. Okay, welcome. Today I am so very excited and honored to have my special guest, Jeff Krahl, here with us on my new podcast, Seriously Uncork Yourself. I really appreciate you, Jeff, for taking the time away from your busy schedule to be here. And I would like to let everybody know how I met Jeff. We met through our high performance coaching program, and we get together once a week, usually, depending on schedules. And we get together, we collaborate, we tell stories, we help each other out, we teach, and it's just really nice that we get to do that. And so through that, I asked Jeff if he would come on my podcast, and here he is. And just a little bit more about him. He's a lot. Actually, we got a lot more about him. Jeff is an international business consultant. He's a life coach. He's a best-selling author and a certified high-performance coach with over 25,000 plus hours of empowering clients in breaking their limiting beliefs so they can live their ideal life. He has a best-selling book, The Fifth Power for Relationship, 5 Secrets to Finding Your Soulmate. His purpose in life is with integrity, fun, and happiness. He empowers others to live an extraordinary life beyond their beliefs so that they live a life of endless possibilities. How about that? So welcome.
All right.
I know. Hey. So, okay. That's all the goodies and everything else, but what's going on at home? What's going on? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah. So, so I'm a family guy. So that's one thing you should know about me that most people don't know, but I've always been a family guy. I've always wanted to have a family, and I have a beautiful wife for over 13 years now and 4 kids, and so right now I'm just loving the extra quality time. I know during this period of time, people start saying they're not getting, they don't spend enough time or they spend too much time with people. And right now I just feel blessed because I'm spending more time with my family than I ever have, and absolutely loving it.
I know. I agree with you right there too, because over here it's the same thing. It's spending a little bit more time with my family. Little different circumstance with me, but it's been really nice to be able to do some things now that I can walk again, and we can, just have fun as a family. And as far as like everything in the uncertainty out there, our family we practice safe, connections and, safe being with each other. And it is nice to be with family more. So out of the bad, sometimes a lot of the good comes, right? I think
Exactly. And, I think a lot of times it's how you dealt with, the economic crisis that's here, I right in the beginning in March, I remember doing this 6 ways on how to thrive in an economic crisis. And that, and I took it on too. Everything I taught, I did myself and, for my clients as well. And they're thriving. Like I'm having my best year ever. Some of my clients are having their best year ever because they leaned into all of this versus sucking in all the fear and sucking into the media and really holding themselves back. And, rather than just leaning into it, elevating your health, elevating your business, elevating your relationships, all of those things. And I think that's kind of what, you really need to focus on is how do I lean into that versus be a victim of all of that? So.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that so much. And that brings us to what we're going to talk about today somewhat is that we named this together. Well, mostly Jeff named this because this is going to be about what he does. And I want you guys to take this all in. This is really pretty cool, and you're going to really get some juicy stuff. The name of our podcast today is Broken Heart, Defining My Soulmate in 120 Days. And I know that Jeff has done a lot of work. He has webinars going on. He's written a book, and he talks about how we do this in 120 days. So take it away, Jeff. How do we find our soulmate in 120 days?
Yeah, absolutely. So most people know me as, like you said earlier, a business coach or a life coach. And, one of my secret little things that I love most is the book I wrote, which is all about helping people find their soulmate. I'll tell you, this all started back when I was coaching one of my business clients, and he was just suffering. He felt frustrated. He felt hopeless. He couldn't find clients for his business. And, I was talking to him. He was from Australia. And I was working with him on the phone. And he flat out said, Jeff, I'm thinking on giving up. And I was like, no way, you can do this. You can find those clients. And he's like, well, what would you do if you drop shipped to here in Australia? How would you find clients, And I went through my 5th power formula with him, and I walked him through. And at the time, I didn't even call it the 5th power formula. It was just my 5 steps that I wanted to teach him. And so I got off the phone. He was excited. He was motivated. He was doing everything. He was like, hey, Jeff, I got to get off. I got to get these ideal clients. And when I looked in the mirror to myself, because I always have a mirror when I'm coaching with people in front of me, I started to realize I had that thought and that epiphany, like, wow, that was some good advice. And then have you ever had the thought where you're just like, man, I should probably take that myself?
Right. Yep.
Right. And I did that. I was like, oh man, it's that love-hate relationship of being a coach, and it's just like, oh, that was so good. I should probably do that in the area that I was stuck at the time. And where I was stuck was that broken heart, and I went through a divorce, and I had all sorts of stories about my divorce and all sorts of stories about my past relationships, to the point where I started to recognize I was exactly what my client was like. I felt hopeless. I felt frustrated. I felt like, I was all alone and it wouldn't actually work out, and all of that. And so I went ahead and just did the same thing. I followed my own advice. And right after that appointment, I got right into action, and I followed my 5th power formula that I teach today. And, I went on 43 dates in 120 days to find my beautiful wife that, like I said earlier, I'm married 13 years now with 4 kids. Right. And, fulfilled on what I wanted, which was being that family guy, So,
what happened where, she was the special one? Like, what did you do that she was different? Like, how did you find her? Like, what did you do? Tell me.
So in my 5th power formula, one of the first chapters is all about your way of being. Okay. I call it the 5th power, which is the secret sauce to my whole formula, but I give it to you first, okay? Because I believe if you don't show up in the way of being, meaning the way you want people to represent you or see you or experience you as, then it makes the journey much harder. And so, and most of the time we're unconscious of how we show up in our way of being. Like we just walk into a meeting, we don't think about anything. We just walk into, our family dinner. We just walk into the house, and we're not conscious about how we want to be represented in front of everyone else. Like, what is our best self? And so that's my secret kind of sauce is like, do you have an intention in who you're talking to in that moment? Or are you just running on autopilot and whatever shows up, shows up? And I believe if you have an intention in your way of being about that, that you're more likely to make the experience better for them as well as for yourself in fulfilling on, how you want to be in your life, and be your highest self. So that was the first thing.
Yeah.
that
So it
was on
sounds
there.
like you definitely prepared then. So tell me, okay, so you prepared. So did you create something? I mean, what did
Yeah.
you
So
do
I
to grab
created,
her? Your
yeah.
soulmate. Yeah.
So I created my intention of being happy, vulnerable, and adventurous. So those are my three things. Like, no matter what date I was going on, no matter who I was talking to about finding my soulmate, it was all about being happy, adventurous, and vulnerable. And that was really difficult for me because that's not natural for me. And I knew that if I was those three things, that my best self would come out, and the more I practiced that, the better I got at it, the easier it became. And the more that, if you ask people like, who's Jeff for you? He's like, oh, he's really honest. He's really vulnerable. He's really, but he loves to, he's always happy. I was always a couple of my places I was called the happy guy, because they're like, oh, he's always so happy. How does that happen? And even my kids today play with me all the time. Like, why is it that you're always happy? You're never mad, or you're.
That's a good quality.
And that's intentional, right? I like to bring play and fun to everything because I believe that if one of my main core intentions is intentions in life is to always show up happy, then everything else will work out, And so anytime I walk through a door, I think of my core intentions, which is through integrity, fun, and happiness, which you heard me in my purpose.
Yeah.
And so those are those things. But so anyhow, so that's what drove me to that. And so that was the first step that I did, was like, I really created that intention of what I wanted. And then I started to go through my next chapter, which is all about power of clarity and focus, because this is the piece that most people go, oh, yeah, Jeff, I got that. I understand that already. I've got clarity. I know what I want, and when I talk to them and ask them, when I'm coaching people, they're just like, it's like, well, what is it that you're looking for? Who's this soulmate? Who is this ideal partner? Who is this, special person, your significant other, the woman of your dreams, the man of your dreams, however you want to call it. I just call it soulmate. And whenever I ask them that, they're confused. They're like, or they're on the other side, which is like, well, here's the big long list, Jeff, of everything I'm looking for. And they're like going through pages and so on, right? And we've all done these things, right? To match, whether it's your client or whether it's your soulmate or whatever, you got this big ideal thing of how it all should be. And, it's kind of setting this expectation that's impossible. So no wonder you're not going to find them. So in that chapter, I really teach you, how do you narrow that down to only 5 core attributes, qualities, or values. One, so it's easy for you to identify, but more importantly, it's easy for others to identify when you talk to others about what you're looking for. So like when they ask you, who's your soulmate, it's really easy for you to just articulate it, and it's easy for them to remember. And that's the key, easy for someone else to remember, so that when they see it, they can call you, and that was one of the things in my next chapter is called the power of asking in community. And it's really sharing those 5 qualities, right? Because once you share those, you want people to help you. And so just one little secret about my process is all those dates, the 43 dates I went on, were all by referral. So it wasn't even me, right? It wasn't me finding that special person. It was others doing it, others contributing. And that was the hard part for me, was to let others contribute. And I think that's the vulnerability part, right? Is being vulnerable and letting others know that, I was looking for my soulmate. I was looking for the woman of my dreams. I was really committed to doing that and sharing with them, but letting them be vulnerable to accept who they thought was a good fit for me, because they knew me because they saw me all the time. They know my personality. They know who I really am. So it was easier to do that. So
So then when you finally you met your wife, and did you know right away that she was the one, or what pushed you guys together more?
Yeah.
What did you do? Okay, so you met her and you met other ones, and all of a sudden you knew.
Yeah,
right?
so it's a funny story too, because when I met my wife the first time, okay, I went to a barbecue. A friend of mine invited me to a barbecue. It was a birthday party barbecue kind of thing, and so I went there. He brought my wife, or my today. He brought her as a guest, and knowing that I was going to be there. So anyhow, I bumped into him and her and started talking. It was interesting because I had a really good conversation. We were going back and forth and talking, and it was kind of like a little mini date, even though we were at a barbecue. But I was able to really have good quality time with her and just chatting. And at that time, I really thought she fit my profile. She really fit the person I was looking for. It was really hard because at that time I had 2 weeks of dates all booked in my calendar of women that were introduced to me and all met the qualities and the attributes that I was looking for. And so it was kind of hard to say, I was thinking to myself, hey, I really enjoyed our conversation. Maybe we can get together and go out on a date. My calendar's open in 3 weeks. I didn't think that would work, so I didn't really do that.
I don't think so either.
I know when I tell women, they're like, "Oh no, don't do that," and it's exactly what I didn't do. That I just said it was nice meeting you. I really enjoyed our conversation. I know you know Charles really well, so I'm sure I'll see you around. And we kind of left it at that, And then of course, I marked in my little notebook or my journal that I kept and said, "Oh, don't forget Michelle," because she fit everything, and call Charles, kind of thing. So, but anyhow, so that's how it happened. And then the next day, or actually it was that week, I think it was the next week, I was at a personal development. I'm always kind of growing and developing myself. And I shared that with her. When we were talking at the barbecue, I shared that with her, that I'm going to this event and I'm checking it out and I'll be there. And Charles knew I'd be there too. And she just showed up to that event because she wanted to be around me. It was funny. Her side of the story is a little bit different, but Charles kind of encouraged her, and she was scared and fearful. But I didn't notice that. When I saw her, she came and said, "Yeah, I'm here. I wanted to meet Jeff." And when they they brought her to me, I was just so blown away. I felt like, what a bold and, adventurous woman. And that was another thing that drew me to her. So at that time, at the end of that event, I basically just said, okay, we got to go out. Let's go out next week and that was the plan. But then my buddy that was there with me, he was from out of town. We were going to go to dinner that night. And I was just like, would it be okay to just drop you off at the hotel and go to dinner with Michelle? And he was just like, man, you guys had such good connection. Of course, I'd rather have you do that. I know that's your big game and your goal. And so I dropped him off, called her up and said, I don't want to wait a week. Let's just go to coffee or have dinner tonight. She was all aboard on that. And, from that day forward, we knew. And actually the next morning, I called all my dates. So I had 2 weeks of dates, like I said, already booked in my calendar. And I called all the women and just told them, I had to cancel the date because I didn't think it was fair to them that I was I was going out on a date with them knowing that I'm thinking of somebody else. And
right.
so, and all of them were just, yeah, and that's integrity.
That's
That's part of my thing, integrity and being vulnerable, right? And I'll tell you this, most people say, oh, I'd never do anything like that or whatever. But it was so amazing. All the women, almost all of them said, if it doesn't work out, call me.
Right.
they were like, hey, thanks for telling me. And if it doesn't work out, I really still want to go out on a date with you.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Because nobody does that nowadays. They would just not even
no
bother.
way.
Yeah. And so I think that's really important, especially, and plus I'm sure you told Michelle all about that too, right? So she
I totally told her about that. And I guess the question you were kind of asking, like, how did you know it was her? It was just there's this feeling that you get, and it's hard when you only date maybe once or twice. I mean, like, I was probably dating maybe 5 times a year. And the problem is I was dating by accident versus on purpose, which I think is a key thing. Like, when I was dating on purpose, I had intentions, I had visions, I had kind of who I was looking, all that was there. Whereas when I was dating by accident, it was kind of like, well, she's kind of this, she's kind of that, this works because, if I was truthful, it was like, I just didn't want to be alone, I didn't want to be alone. And it was easier to be with someone that was almost there or could be there or might be there, or all these things that I would use to justify why I was in that relationship. And when I really did the work, I could see for myself, that was just me, fearful of being alone, I'm fearful with being with that wrong person, or being alone versus being with someone. And what I recognize is it cost me a lot, it cost me a ton of time. How many times I dated someone after my heart was broken, where it was like a week or 3 weeks or a month or 4 months or even a year. I dated somebody where I just knew, like, if what I know now, it would be like, why did I do that? Why did I waste that whole year? Because when you're in a relationship with someone, even though you're not 100% in, it means you're not available for the right person to show up for you. And I think that's another thing that people miss is, if you're in a so-so relationship and you're thinking, oh, well, maybe if the right person comes, then I will break up and do that. You never have that chance. You've got to be out of that relationship in order to open up the space for your soulmate or that ideal partner to come to you. So
you guys dated, and then how long did it take you guys before you made that commitment? And what did you do? Did you do anything?
So how long did it make what commitment? What's the commitment you're talking about?
How long before you guys? Yeah, go ahead.
Before I got engaged, or before I got we started
so how long
dating?
did it take? I mean, what did you do after that? I mean, so you guys are talking, and then you said you felt like this is the person that you were thinking that would be for you.
Right.
How long did that whole process take? And did you do anything special?
I did. So there is one thing that I did very, very special that most people don't know, and I shared a little bit in my book, which is I purchased 2 fully paid cruise tickets for me and the woman of my dreams, not knowing who she was. So when I got off with my client, within that next week, I purchased these 2 tickets, and I couldn't even afford them at the time. It was like, I didn't want to do it, but I knew, I call it the commitment push, but I knew if I paid for something I couldn't afford, and I hate like spending money, I'm like very particular where I invest my money to make more money and do, but I just did it, and it really got me into action. And so I had to tell her that I have these cruise tickets for me and her at the end of the year to go on. And it's really funny that because when I did that, they needed a name, on the cruise tickets, and I was like, I don't know who it is, and they're like, well, we really need a name because they need a passport. We need to know who's going out of the country, and you're fully paid, so it's non-refundable. So we really need a name. And I was like, well, by when? And it happened to be about 4 to 5 months that I needed to get that name in. So I was on a deadline, and that's why I call it the commitment push. Is if you don't have a date or a real commitment that's going to push you and pull you towards that, then, it's going to be by accident, and it's definitely going to be a slower process. So that was kind of by accident because I didn't do it on purpose. But once the lady told me, hey, you got 5 months or less, I was like, all those negative thoughts came through my head. Like, I can't afford this. Why are you doing this? What if you fail? What are people going to think? All those negative things just started flowing in my head to the point where I was like, yeah, maybe I should cancel all of this. Maybe I should stop all this. Right. And I didn't let that happen, obviously. I really stuck to my intentions and my focus. And I said, I started telling myself and others that if I don't have that by that time frame, I will pay for 2 people. I will go on the cruise, and she will be there. So, and I wasn't gonna just take someone that wasn't someone that I could marry, that I truly believed is the one. And I guess making that commitment made a huge, huge difference. So I did tell her in August. So actually, no, it was September. I think it was September. So this was in March when I started the journey. And then in September, I kind of told her, even though we only dated for, I think it was about a month that we dated. And then I told her, would you like to go on a cruise? It was funny. She's like, well, we've only been dating for a while. And I was like, I understand, but because I really needed the name, right? And I knew she was the one. So it was kind of like, and it was funny. She's like, yeah, that sounds like fun. And then I told her the story, how I purchased these ahead of time. And she was blown away by that. And she's just like, yeah, sure. And, one other thing I'll tell you is when I was sharing with people that I was looking for the woman of my dreams, I didn't want it to be about the cruise, right? Like, who do you know that can go on this cruise with me, right? Or win the cruise tickets, right? I really was crystal clear. It's not about the cruise. The cruise tickets were about me, really putting the pressure on me to do what I needed to do and be the person I needed to be. But I told them that, I'm going to be sipping daiquiris with the woman of my dreams on the cruise deck. And this is the woman I'm going to marry. I really would like you to contribute and look at your people and your sphere of people that on who really fits the attributes that I'm looking for and the values that I'm looking for. And I'd love it that you are the one that did that. I carried this around. Let's see, where is that? Right there.
Oh, cool.
And that's me and my beautiful wife sipping daiquiris on the cruise deck. Exactly like I said, and I carry this all the time. And it reminds me that I can do anything that I want. I can live that extraordinary life. I can go way beyond those beliefs that stop me in life. I just got to commit to it and really follow my formula, and I can do that. And so I always challenge myself, and that's my picture that just reminds me, like, don't listen to that negative stuff in your head and just go for it, and make it happen quick. Like, don't make it a long journey. It has to be. And I think that's very, very important because people think like, wow, you found in 120 days. That's so, well, I've already coached people that have blown my record behind, and found them in 30 days and, and so on. And it's crazy that people can do that. But if they follow the right path, the right formula, the right process, and have the right person coach them and teach them, you can accomplish anything that you want. So yeah.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. It was really pretty cool because I'm listening to your story and I'm pulling and I'm picking things, and it's just like, when people meet, just like we met too in business, and it's just like what you're saying are a lot of the same attributes and qualities that I want in my life too. And so I don't believe in coincidences. I just don't. I believe that things are always meant. There's always a reason for things that happen. And that's what you're basically, that's everything that you're saying. And with integrity and the commitment, and those are like two of my greatest attributes that I always try to get out to people all the time, meeting people where they're at. So we're on a roll here. I love listening to your story. So now that you've been married for like 13 years, okay, so what do you guys do now to rejuvenate playfulness? That's one of my categories that I just love talking about with my clients too. So what are you doing to rejuvenate playfulness now that 4 kids later, 13 years later? What do you do to get that inner going? So keep it going.
Well, I think the biggest thing right now that we do is I like to just go on trips with my wife, because I think of it's just us. Because every time I go on trips with the kids and so on, it feels like I need a vacation after the vacation. So,
oh yeah.
even though it's fun and we do new things, and we go to Disneyland, we do whatever, SeaWorld and all these different things, we end up, I always feel like drained of all the things that we're managing to go through that. So for me, with her, it's just, I like just the one-on-one time. We've done quite a few little trips. We went to Australia, we've gone to the Caribbean, we've gone to different places like that I think are really, really, I think that's the important time, the quality time to do that. And fortunately, I have an amazing mom that will come and babysit and take care of them, so we can do that. However, with the COVID stuff, we haven't got away as much as we want. So we do these, we actually do stay home dinner nights, date nights, where we'll put the kids asleep, we'll order food, and we'll hang out, drink wine, and just have conversations and things like that. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing now. But now that things are starting to open up and do things, so we'll probably be traveling again. I've got some sites on some other ventures to go on.
Yeah, and I'm in there with you, because the same thing happened with us too. It's just with everything. It's we haven't traveled, and we usually try to go somewhere at least every other year. And so I'm thinking after this winter for 2021 that we can go ahead and we have a baby being born. Our 11th grandchild the baby will be born in January, end of January.
Nice.
So we'll see how things are afterwards, and then maybe we can go ahead and do something together, because there's nothing better than doing that. I mean, it's great. Family trips are wonderful, but as couples, and I always say this too, you guys need to, to rekindle and be by yourselves, and because you get so caught up. With me, my husband and I are both remarried, so we have 6 daughters between the two of us, and like I said, and our 11th grandchild coming, and so you get caught up in that everyday thing where it's getting to the point where you sort of sometimes lose that you're a couple anymore. And
you lose the connection, right? You lose that connection. You start feeling like it's a job, and you're just going from one thing to the next thing, doing it, clocking in and out, and so on. And I think it is really important to kind of put yourself out of that environment, right? Yep. Put yourself in an isolated environment with each other and be able to kind of talk things through. I think that's a very, very important thing to do. Date nights, I think, are really good too. But there's just something about being away and not having to think of all the day-to-day things that are there.
Absolutely.
I think that's
absolutely.
It's
even to touch on that. The other day I was making one of my Get Healthy shakes, right? And so so I'm putting all the fruit in there, and I haven't had a mango forever. So I cut the mango, and I took a little snippet of it to taste it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it took me back onto one of our trips. And it's just like, oh yeah,
It's so true.
Because
that's why you got to have images, and you've got to have smells and taste and all those things, because it brings you back to that person or that experience that you just loved,
Right.
and why not have those positive things show up versus all the negative conversations and the
Mhm.
negative stuff that's there. So you're so true about that.
I just love it. So anyway, well, this was great. I enjoyed our time together, and we're getting close to our little bit of our time limit here. So,
Sure.
before before we end today, is there anything else that you would like to say to the audience before we end?
No, I mean, I just really appreciate, everyone showing up. I mean, I think this is such a
Mhm.
great thing that you do. And I just, thank you for inviting me to this and sharing my story. I hope that inspires others to like go out and be adventurous, whether it's your business, your personal life, whether it's finding your soulmate, whatever it is, and I love to contribute in any way that I can. I think the best way is just probably just to go to my website, jeffkrahl.com, and
Right?
I'm more than willing to do like a free session with you and focus on whatever it is that you want.
Mhm.
I'm all about, like you said, in my purpose, through integrity, fun, and happiness. I want to empower you to live an extraordinary life beyond our belief and live a life of endless possibilities. And I would just love to contribute that. And like I said, I have many different things I have on my website, whether it's the challenges I do on, elevating your life or finding your soulmate or building your business. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I just love it. Thank you so much. And after the program today, there will be in the show notes, and I'll go ahead and we're going to put in there Jeff's Facebook group that you guys can go ahead and join. Of course, his website, which is jeffkrahl.com. It's real easy to go to. He also has a free webinar in there for you guys to try. It's called Secrets to Find Love.com, and these will all be printed underneath so that you don't have to hurry up and get your pen out because it'll be there. And also his book too. It's on Amazon, and it's jkbookdeal.com. And so you guys, I just so happy today that we got together again. I just loved our time together, Jeff, and thank you so much, and happy family living.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
too. Awesome. Thank you.
thanks. All right. Thank you for tuning into the show. I hope this brought out your passions, ignited you, and inspired you to restart and reclaim your life. Please subscribe to my podcast and feel free to leave a rating and a review. Until the next episode of Seriously Uncork Yourself, you can check out more information at lynnkuhn.com. That's Lynn, Lynn, Kuhn, Kuhn.com. Be sure to tune in for my next episode. Sending you all peace and love until our next time together. Seriously, uncork yourself.